I'm Camille Parker, 32. For 5 years, I was Meridian Advertising's secret weapon, until the day they handed my title to someone who couldn't even spell retention strategy without help. I built my reputation the old-fashioned way, showing up early, staying late, and letting my work speak louder than any happy hour connection ever could. From salvaging the Drink Pure rebrand to turning Blue Stream's tech flop into a statewide success, I never asked for praise. Just a fair shot. Then came Rachel. 2 years in, and somehow she walked into the senior role I'd spent 5 years earning. With my deck, my strategy, my numbers. He said my name first. And for one beautiful second, I thought it was mine. But I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just handed him a 3-page letter and watched his face fall on the third. If you've ever watched someone else get rewarded for your work, leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Like, subscribe and stay with me. Because this isn't a story about defeat. It's about what happens when silence finally speaks. For 5 years, I sacrificed weekends, missed birthdays, and said yes to everything, because I thought hard work would speak for itself. I used to believe that success had a rhythm. Show up early, exceed expectations, be the first to volunteer and the last to leave. That's how I survived Meridian's cutthroat campaigns year after year, until the lines between loyalty and self-neglect blurred. James used to say, "Talent gets you noticed. Grit gets you remembered." I carried that mantra like armor. But lately, even grit felt disposable. I was hired straight out of Northwestern, green but relentless. Within 18 months, I'd salvaged the Drink Pure rebrand, landing our first major health client. The following year, I led Blue Stream's tech rollout across 4 states, turning a dud into our biggest win that quarter. And when Sunset Glow's launch nearly collapsed, I patched the pitch deck overnight while nursing a fever and still closed the deal. I didn't advertise those sacrifices. I just delivered. Then came Rachel Sloan. She joined 2 years ago, transferred from some boutique agency in Denver. Charming, vibrant, the kind who greeted everyone with lattes and birthday cupcakes. I welcomed her like I wished someone had welcomed me. Mentored her. Shared old decks. Let her shadow my calls. At first, she was eager, curious, respectful. Then she began skipping the morning stand-ups, missing post-campaign reviews. When I brought it up, she brushed it off with a bright laugh. "You've got it covered, Camille. You're the queen of this place." It was small things at first. A client call where she parroted my idea, word for word. An internal email where my name was missing, though the deck was clearly mine. In meetings, she would speak second but louder. Kevin, our VP, would chuckle, nod, and move on. I told myself not to be petty. We were on the same team. And Rachel, well, maybe she just admired my approach. Then one Friday, she forwarded my draft strategy to Kevin, tweaked a few headlines, replaced the tone with emojis, and pitched it as hers. He ate it up. Still, I bit my tongue. Maybe Kevin didn't see it. Maybe he was too busy. Or maybe, just maybe, it didn't matter, because the upcoming promotion would. Senior Marketing Director, the title I'd been eyeing for over a year. The one James always said I was born for. Meridian had a system. Annual review panels, 3 finalists, and 1 department-wide announcement. Rumors had floated since January. By March, I'd been asked to update my campaign portfolio twice and sat in on 2 exploratory lunches with HR. No official word, but signs pointed one way. Then, late Tuesday afternoon, the email appeared in my inbox. Subject, Department Leadership Announcement. Time, Thursday, March 23rd, 10 a.m. Location, 18th floor, all staff welcome. I froze. My heart thudded. It was happening. I leaned back, staring at the calendar invite like it might change form. My hand trembled slightly on the mouse. After everything, this was it. The sound of heels snapped me back. Rachel strolled past my desk, clutching a fresh matcha and that signature smug glint in her eye. She slowed, tilted her head. "You excited for Thursday too?" she asked sweetly. And then she was gone, He said my name first, and for one beautiful second I thought it was mine. I had rehearsed the walk from my desk to the elevator a dozen times, chosen the navy suit with structured shoulders, powerful but approachable, even rehearsed my speech in the mirror, something humble, grateful, just the right touch of earned pride. I took my seat at the edge of the long glass conference table at 9:50 sharp. The executive room on 18 was as blindingly sterile as always. White walls, chrome finishes, bottled water aligned like soldiers. Across the table, Rachel laughed at something Derek said, her crimson blazer catching the light like it had something to prove. Kevin finally entered at 10:06, grinning like he'd just closed a six-figure deal. "Morning, team," he boomed, his voice too cheerful. "Appreciate everyone being here for this special moment. Leadership changes don't happen often, but when they do, they matter." He went on, recapping Meridian's wins, thanking unsung heroes. He even referenced the Vital Health campaign, without naming anyone. Then he inhaled sharply. "And now," he said, glancing around with manufactured gravity, "we're thrilled to announce our new senior marketing director." He turned toward me. "Rachel Sloan." There was a pause, not even half a second. But it was enough. Enough for my breath to hitch. For my throat to tighten around a name that never left my lips. Rachel blinked, tilted her head, performed a small gasp like a B-list actress at an awards show. "Oh, wow, thank you. I really didn't expect—" She turned to me and smiled. "This wouldn't have happened without Camille," she said, voice syrupy. "She's been my rock since day one." "My rock." Kevin chuckled. "Couldn't have said it better myself. Rachel brings a fresh edge, but Camille, you've always been the foundation." My foundation. I stared at the ridges of the conference table. The sharp corners, the faint scratches in the lacquer. No one protested, no sideways glances, no awkward coughs, just polite claps. Lisa's eyes were on her coffee. Megan bit her lip. Derek tapped something on his phone. It was like I'd been edited out of the scene, like the credits had rolled and I was just a grip behind the camera. Later, in the bathroom, Megan slipped in behind me. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, eyes darting toward the stalls. Word is, the board stepped in. It wasn't Kevin's call entirely. Rachel's connected. I nodded slowly, staring at my reflection. The eyes were mine. The silence wasn't. It was sharper now, heavier. Outside, voices buzzed from the hallway. Laughter, glass clinking, celebration already in motion. I walked out without a word, past Rachel in the hallway. She didn't look at me. Back at my desk, I pulled out my laptop. My fingers moved without hesitation. Internal portal, budget archives, campaign tracker, Vital Health Q3, line items, sub-budgets, approval chains, names. Let's see what they didn't think I'd find. I didn't yell. I didn't slam doors. I just wrote the kind of letter that makes a man go pale. The hum of Camille's laptop blended with the low clink of a half-empty wine glass against the edge of her kitchen island. It was almost midnight, but the room was still lit by the warm, patient glow of her desk lamp and the cold, ruthless light of truth blinking from her screens. Rows of spreadsheet tabs framed the center of her attention, each line a breadcrumb, each invoice a quiet scream. The budget reports for the Vital Health campaign were damning enough. But what chilled her wasn't the numbers themselves. It was how cleanly they had been manipulated. Bright Edge Creative, billed $46,000. Actual cost? $18,500. Juno Media, non-existent in the vendor registry before Rachel's arrival. And repeated invoice codes with slight numerical deviations, clearly meant to bypass accounting's auto-flag system. Rachel's name popped up too often as project lead. Kevin's digital signature greenlit every cost overrun. Camille's breath was steady. Her pulse wasn't. But she wasn't unraveling. She was slicing. She clicked through archived emails, flagged one from 6 months ago. Kevin praising her for the early Vital Health strategy deck. That praise now reworded and fed back to Rachel in her promotion announcement. Classic. Camille reached for her phone and dialed Marcus. He picked up quickly. Hey, stranger. Need 10 minutes. Off record. Go. She walked him through it. The padded invoices, the non-existent vendors, the sign-off trails. His tone changed by the third example. That's not just internal fraud, Marcus said. That's reportable. If you've got documentation. I do. Camille, this is serious. You're sitting on a grenade. But if you're right, you're also holding the pin. I know. She didn't need Marcus to validate her, but she needed to say it out loud. To someone who understood what it meant to risk a career not for revenge, but for principle. When the call ended, Camille turned back to the screen and opened a blank document. The resignation began politely. To whom it may concern. After 5 years of service at Meridian, I've chosen to step away in pursuit of new challenges. I'm grateful for the opportunity to lead key campaigns and work alongside exceptional colleagues. The next section summarized her contributions with surgical brevity. Drink Pure launch exceeded Q2 projections by 43%. Bluestream repositioning, revived client relationship after near exit. Vital health. Initial strategy, full deck, and concept development authored solely by Camille. Then the final cut. Enclosed, you'll find a detailed report outlining campaign budget discrepancies across several projects, including inflated vendor invoices and approval records linked to senior management. I am obliged to submit this to Meridian's Board of Directors and the Chief Financial Officer for formal review. All supporting documentation is enclosed. She read it twice. Changed nothing. From her encrypted drive, she uploaded every relevant file, scanned invoices, internal emails, time-stamped approval trails, into a personal cloud folder marked Meridian Audit. Then she printed 3 copies of the full report and resignation package, one for HR, one for the CFO, one for her records. The hum of the printer sounded almost ceremonial. She gathered the documents into navy folders, clipped them shut, and slid them into her briefcase beside the signed resignation letter. Camille stood, stretching the stiffness from her shoulders. She crossed the apartment to the mirror in the hallway. There, for the first time in days, she saw herself, unmasked, steady. Tomorrow, she said quietly. I'm not resigning. I'm redefining. I didn't threaten. I didn't beg. I handed him 3 pages and watched his face fall on the third. The office door clicked shut behind me with the quiet authority of a gavel. Kevin Mitchell's corner office was all glass, light, and curated calm. The kind of space meant to impress clients and intimidate subordinates. But today, the illusion of control was mine to break. Kevin stood when I entered. Camille, he said, flashing that practiced executive smile. Didn't expect to see you this afternoon. I won't take much of your time. I crossed the carpet slowly, every footstep measured, heels muffled against the thick hush of luxury. He gestured toward the leather chair across from his desk. I remained standing. Kevin raised an eyebrow but didn't push. Look, I know yesterday caught you off guard. These decisions, they're never easy. I waited. Rachel's promotion. He began, folding his hands together like a pastor delivering bad news at a funeral. It was strategic. Her skill set aligns with what the board's looking for. You're still incredibly valued here. We see your long-term potential. I set the envelope on his desk. He paused. Camille? Please read. He opened it, smoothing the pages like they might crinkle under pressure. Page 1. My formal resignation. Civil. Grateful. The kind of letter that couldn't be twisted into bitterness. He skimmed it quickly and nodded once. Page 2. A concise summary of my contributions. Campaign wins, profit growth, national account retentions. His eyes darted faster now. Then came page 3. He slowed, reread the top paragraph. Then again. I could see it happen. The precise moment the words stopped being text and started being threat. Inflated vendor payouts, internal sign-offs, shell entities. he murmured, each phrase dragging more color from his face. When he hit the section labeled Supporting Documentation, complete with project codes, invoice mismatches, and time-stamped approvals, his lips parted slightly. He looked up. Who else has seen this? I met his gaze, even. Calm. Martha Reynolds, Sandra Klein on the board. Human Resources Director Cho. 3 blind copies, sent at 1:45 p.m. He leaned back as if the chair could catch the fall he just realized he was in. You blindsided me, he said quietly. No, I replied. I gave you exactly what you gave me. Politeness, formality, the illusion of stability, until it's gone. There was a beat of silence. Outside, through the wide glass, the skyline shimmered with spring haze. Down the hall, I caught a flash of Rachel's red blazer as she chatted by the elevators. Unaware, unbothered for now. Kevin looked down at the documents again. Camille, we can talk through this. Surely we can come to some... I reached for my bag. By the time I leave this room, I said, adjusting my blazer with care, this will no longer be your problem alone. And then I walked out. Past the tension, past the glass, past Megan, who stood near the printer and offered nothing but a small, knowing nod. They promoted the wrong woman. Now the right one was dismantling the system they trusted. By 9:03 a.m., Camille had already passed 2 locked offices, 3 whispered glances, and 1 stunned intern who mouthed, "Is it true?" as she walked by. She didn't slow down. The open floor of Meridian's HQ buzzed with tension disguised as routine. Emails were answered a little too quickly. Doors that used to stay open were suddenly shut. And for once, the quiet hum of Rachel's designer heels was absent. Camille reached her desk and opened her inbox. Subject: Administrative leave notification. Camille, please be advised that Kevin Mitchell and Rachel Sloan have been placed on administrative leave pending formal investigation. We appreciate your cooperation as Meridian works through the appropriate channels. Abigail Cho, Director of Human Resources. No signature flourish, no platitudes, just fact. Her phone buzzed. Megan. He got escorted out by security. Full walk of shame style. Camille allowed herself the briefest smile. Not smug. Just acknowledged. Minutes later, Megan passed by holding a stack of folders. Their eyes met. She said nothing, but her slight nod was enough. An allegiance formed without needing to be spoken. By noon, Camille was finishing up the final touches on a reference file when her phone lit up again. This time it was Marcus. "Tell me you're free to talk," he said. She stepped into an empty huddle room and shut the glass door behind her. "We've got an offer," Marcus said. "Apex wants you. Senior Marketing Director reporting straight to the CMO. And there's more." She waited. Equity. 0.75%. It's not just a title. It's a seat at the table. Camille exhaled slowly, letting the weight of the moment settle over her spine like armor. "I'll review the offer tonight." No pressure, but... Marcus hesitated. "You earned this long before any of this came to light." "I know," she said, "but thank you for saying it." That afternoon, she left a bit earlier than usual. Not rushed, not avoiding, just choosing. Her keycard chirped as she entered the parking garage. Rachel was waiting. She stepped from behind a pillar like it was a stakeout. Same blazer from Thursday. But gone was the confidence. The posture was off. The eyes tired. "You think you won?" Rachel snapped. "You humiliated him. You destroyed everything." Camille didn't flinch. "You stole credit," she replied, voice even. "I returned accountability. Not the same thing." Rachel scoffed. "You're such a..." But Camille was already walking past her. She didn't need to hear the rest. Whatever insult Rachel was clinging to had no value here. At 4:15 p.m., she slid into the corner booth of a quiet downtown cafe. Martha Reynolds was already there, reading something on a tablet. She looked up. "Camille." "Martha." "You look collected. Camille offered a thin smile. That's new. Martha gestured toward the tablet. We've started the external audit. What you uncovered wasn't small, Camille. It might exceed 400,000. Camille's breath didn't hitch. Her pulse didn't rise. I figured. Martha leaned forward, her tone more confidential now. The board wants to meet with you. They're exploring a consulting arrangement, possibly internal ethics reform. Would you consider helping clean this up? Camille's fingers curled around the edge of her teacup. Warm, grounding. This wasn't vindication. It was something more useful. It was control. Martha studied her. So, what do you say? Camille looked out the window as the city moved, unaware, around them. Her reflection stared back, not asking for permission anymore. Martha, the board would like to discuss a potential consulting agreement. Would you consider helping clean this up? Meridian called it a scandal. I called it a beginning. 2 months later, the view from the 27th floor of Apex's headquarters didn't just overlook Lake Michigan. It felt like it touched the sky. Morning light streamed across the boardroom, catching the chrome edges of the conference table and the confident posture of the woman at its head. Camille adjusted the cuff of her white blazer. The silence in the room wasn't uncomfortable. It was earned. Her team waited as she closed the file in front of her. Next quarter, we'll rotate the ethics review team. Everyone gets eyes on different accounts. Fresh perspective keeps us honest. Megan, seated to her right, nodded and jotted a note. She'd come over from Meridian without fanfare. Just a quiet email and a fierce sense of purpose. Derek followed 2 weeks later. They weren't escaping. They were evolving. Camille's reforms weren't loud, but they were clear. Attribution on every campaign. Transparent bonus metrics. Monthly anonymous feedback reviews. No grandstanding. Just structure. The kind that prevented silencing, sidelining, stealing. Meeting adjourned, Camille said. As her team filed out, Marcus lingered. They just confirmed your keynote slot for the summit, he said, smiling. Prime time, full room. She raised an eyebrow. That's fast. You're fast, he replied. They want what you've built. That evening, she stood backstage at the National Marketing Ethics Summit, heels grounded, spine aligned, breath steady. A host's voice echoed through the auditorium. Please welcome, Camille Parker. She stepped into the light. There was no grand walk, no power pose. Just Camille, a mic, and 200 pairs of eyes ready to listen. I spent 5 years thinking merit would speak for itself, she began. Turns out silence speaks louder, especially in rooms that benefit from it. She paused. Your worth isn't measured by who overlooks you, but by what you choose to do when they do. The applause that followed wasn't wild. It was sustained, respectful, real. Later that night, as she scanned her inbox on the ride back to the hotel, one name caught her eye. Subject, no excuses. From Rachel Sloan. You were right. I'm starting over. For real this time. I'm sorry it took me this long to see what I did. Camille read it once. Then again. Then tapped archive. There was nothing left to reply to. The next morning, she stood by the window in Apex's boardroom as the city woke below. Her reflection in the glass was no longer searching. It was certain. Behind her, voices murmured. Footsteps patted in. Coffee cups clinked. She turned as a young intern, bright-eyed, awkward tie, approached after the meeting. Ms. Parker, he said, voice trembling slightly. Someday I want to do what you did. Camille smiled, gently but firmly. Then start documenting everything. And never let anyone write your ending. They underestimated her silence, never realizing it was the calm before a reckoning. What began as betrayal became a blueprint. For accountability, for self-worth, for quiet revolutions built on truth. Like the final chord of a long-forgotten melody, justice may arrive late, but it resonates powerfully once it's heard. And in the end, it wasn't revenge she left behind. It was a standard no one could ignore.